Hello, this is Sam Gerrans from samgerrans.com. Today is Thursday, March 30th, 2023, and the topic today is media looking for Russian traitors, or actually Western media looking for Russian traitors. Now, maybe traitors is a bit of a strong term, but I'm going to use it anyway because we have a lot to compete with in the online space. You need a bit of, I suppose, clickbait. Is it clickbait? I don't know. But this is what they're doing. I'm going to show you something I came across in the Guardian, and we're just going to look at it. I think it'll be quite short, and I can just tell you what I think about it. So here we are. What they're doing is they're basically hustling for Russians to come along and give them some the awful truth of how terrible it is living under Putin. So it's Russians, tell us what you think about Putin's escalation of war in Ukraine. Well, I mean, you know, the answer is really in the question, isn't it? Escalation of war. I mean, it's the Americans who've put in over $100 billion into the war machine. I mean, not all of it, of course, has gone into the military war machine, but I mean, escalation. Who's been escalating? I mean, just to give you some perspective. I mean, I think that the Russian leadership's one of their major concern is how to manage the West's escalation of this. It's called escalation management, especially when you're dealing with an adversary which is quite clearly unhinged. And that's the major concern, I think, one of them at least. Anyway, so what do they want? Russians, tell us what you think about Putin's escalation of war in Ukraine, i.e. tell us exactly what we want to hear coming from our position. We would like to hear views and opinions from Russians at this stage of the Russia-Ukraine war. But you can guess what? They don't really want to hear opinions from Russians at this stage of the Ukraine war, because I'm a Russian citizen, as it happens, and I contacted them and said what I thought. I told them exactly what I thought, quite succinctly, and I didn't get a response. Isn't that interesting? However, Russia has announced a partial mobilization in a major escalation that places the country's people and economy on a wartime footing. Yeah, partly. It is a partial mobilization. It's not a complete mobilization. It certainly affects the society to some extent. But the Russian economy is doing pretty good, to be perfectly honest with you. Sure, we don't have the same level of Louis Vuitton bags and all the rest of it. But the Russian economy, if you care about that kind of thing, is set to grow next year, according to the IMF, which is no friend of Russia, as I'm sure you may imagine. The inflation rate here is lower than it is in the UK. It's lower than it is in most of Europe. So that's just for a bit of perspective. With President Vladimir Putin also threatening nuclear retaliation. Just think about that for a moment. Just think about the wording. So they want to get this in first. I don't know what the rest of the sentence is because I haven't read it yet. But with Vladimir Putin also threatening nuclear retaliation. What? Threatening to respond with nuclear weapons to being attacked with nuclear weapons. Okay, I'm just trying to sort of point this out to you. We would like to hear from Russians about how ordinary people are reacting to the latest developments in the war of Ukraine. If you just break that sentence down and think about it for a second, it's a complete mind job. With Russia being said to be so evil, we want to hear from some Russians who believe this so that we can confirm everything that we already believe about Russians, all right? That's what this is about. How are you, family and friends, feeling? Now there's a libtard word. How are you feeling about the war? Well, how's anybody feeling about war? I'm sure, I mean, this is aimed at women and kind of beta males, but nobody's feeling great about the war. I don't know. I've lived here for 20 years. I've never met anybody who hates Ukrainians. And in the last 2 years, I've never heard anybody really saying they hate Ukrainians and they're glad Ukrainians are dying. No one's glad anyone's dying in this country, if you want to know. But have we got feelings about it? Yes, I'm sure we have. What are your hopes and fears for the coming weeks and months? See, kind of the kind of person this is aimed at. The people who only have feelings, no facts or analysis whatsoever. The kind of people who read The Guardian. We would also like to hear from Russians living in the US, the UK, or elsewhere, i.e. those kind of Russians who already speak English pretty well and are prepared to throw their country under the bus because they're terrified because the levels of what's called Russophobia are threatening to put them out of their jobs or out of their houses and onto the streets. Share your views and experiences. If you are 18 or over, you can get in touch by filling in the form below, anonymously if you wish. Ah, how great. So this is an invitation for all the propagandists in Ukraine who speak fluent Russian to go in, fill this form out, pretend to be Russians, because they don't care who you are. They just want they just want some dirt. That's all. They're asking you to do their job for them. They can't even be bothered to make it up anymore. Or contact us via WhatsApp, which is what I did. I sent them a WhatsApp message saying I'm a Russian citizen, which I am because I hold a Russian passport, and I don't accept any of the premises of what you're saying, and I sort of went into a few details. Obviously, I knew I was never going to get a response, so I didn't write some huge amount, but predictably, because what I said didn't fall in with what they want, I didn't get a reply. I wasn't invited to make a contribution to The Guardian. So they're just fishing for precisely what they want. You can also contact us via Telegram, blah, blah. We will only use the data you provide us for the purpose of the feature. We're only going to use what you say in order to achieve exactly what we've decided to do. We will delete any personal data when we no longer require it for this purpose. We're not going to pass this data along to the governments so that you might feel in any way that you might have to take responsibility for throwing your own country under the bus. For more information, please see our terms of service and personal policy, privacy policy. Your responses are secure as the form is encrypted, and only The Guardian has access to your contributions. We will keep all responses from people living inside Russia anonymous, as well as anyone else who wishes to be. And then they go on with some more sort of like security stuff. What I'm trying to say is they don't care what people's views are as long as they can use them to fit into the templates, the cookie cutter templates they already have prepared, and just slot in new pieces of information so that they can continue what they want to do. I'm not saying there aren't people in Russia who aren't against this war or against Putin. They exist. Of course they exist. There's a range of opinions in any country. But what I'm trying to do is, what they don't want to do is talk to the 80% of Russians who understand that Russia is in an existential war for its survival. And we're not guessing, because NATO has already said this. It was only 2 or 3 months ago that Europe, the European government, the European Union government was having open forum discussions about how to split up Russia and how it should be split up into 5 or 6 different places. And can you imagine if Russia had this sort of, they were up in Petersburg openly discussing how to break up the United States of America? This is what Russia has to put up with. So can you find people who disagree with Putin and so on? Sure you can. As anyway, you can find people with a range of opinions. But what I'm trying to say is The Guardian knows exactly what it's after, and what it doesn't want to do is to talk to the 80% of people in this country, 85% of people in this country who understand the situation to some degree and who understand that we either win this or, it's back to Yeltsin years and having the country split up into cantons and assets stripped by the usual suspects, i.e. the kind of people who are called Russian oligarchs, and not very little Russian about any of them. Anyway, I'm going to leave that subject there. That's all for now, and see you next time. So, I currently upload to Odyssey, Rumble, YouTube and Substack, so please like, subscribe, share on all platforms. It's free to do, but a valuable way of giving back. Go to samgerrans.com and drop your email in the box to subscribe to my Substack newsletter and get all new content delivered to your inbox. I back up my mailing list so that if big tech cancels me, we still have options. I work outside the mainstream and have no corporate sponsorship. If you value what I do, you can help keep the lights on at samgerrans.com/contribute, or upgrade to a paid subscription on my Substack to access my more detailed work, as well as comment. Substack being where I read all feedback. I continue to make my legacy projects available free. Summaries and links are at samgerrans.com/books. Finally, I post news, thoughts and announcements to my Telegram channel at t.me/samgerrans. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.